Topping today's news, police identify weekend murder victims, included among them a high school student, another female falls victim to sexual assault, and the Deputy Prime Minister says there'll be no premature announcements on the Grand Lucan. This is your Jcn Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. Police have officially identified 2 of the 3 latest homicide victims after 3 murders occurred over the weekend here in the capital in a 17-hour span. The first victim has been identified as 24-year-old Wilton Keno Dawkins of Lincoln Boulevard off Wolf Road. Dawkins' partially burnt remains were discovered on a dirt road in the area of Bonefish Pond around 4 a.m. on Saturday. Police say he had a gunshot wound to the head and lacerations about the body. The second victim has been identified as 38-year-old Ronaldo Jabbar Williams of Sampson Street, Nassau Village, who was shot and killed shortly after 9:30 p.m. while visiting a home of a friend in Nassau Village. Meanwhile, officer in charge of the Criminal Investigation Department, Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson, confirming with reporters on Monday that the third murder victim is a 17-year-old male who was a student of the government high school. Police have not released the name of this victim. Investigations continue into these killings. In other crime news, following police investigations, 2 men were arraigned in the magistrate's court before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt on Monday, charged for 2 separate homicides here in the capital. The first to be charged was 36-year-old Michael Preval. He was charged for the murder of Mateo Roll, whose body was found in bushes in the Bonefish Pond area on Faith Avenue South. During the early morning hours on Thursday, March 9th, officers found the severely burned body of Roll with multiple gunshot wounds about the body. Meanwhile, 20-year-old Algeron Stubbs was charged with the February 10th murder of Georges Suvis, the Dominican national who was gunned down outside his home on West Bay Street. Both Preval and Stubbs were not required to enter a plea. They were remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. They returned to court on June 29th for service of a voluntary bill of indictment. A woman was sexually assaulted by an unknown male who allegedly committed the act while holding her at gunpoint. Police are investigating the alleged sexual assault, which unfolded sometime around 9 a.m. on Monday when the victim, who was walking alone in the Bacardi Road area, accepted a ride from an unknown male. The driver was driving a burgundy-colored vehicle, license plate AH9084. AH9084. The man then drove the victim to a home in the area of Coral Harbor, and upon arrival to that home, the male parked and left the victim in the vehicle. Moments later, he returned, produced a handgun, and sexually assaulted the female. After the assault, the victim was able to make good her escape and reported the matter to the police, who are aggressively investigating. It has been 1 month and 10 days since 2 immigration officers were seen in a viral video entering a barbershop off Bacardi Road and allegedly assaulting 2 Haitian barbers. In the video, the 2 men wearing immigration uniforms slapped and hit the barbers several times. At one point, one of the barbers is seen falling to the ground after being slapped. Both barbers have since proved that they do have legal work permits. Last month, Minister of Labor Immigration Keith Bell said the investigation into this incident would conclude within about a week. But speaking with reporters today before the weekly cabinet meeting, he says the investigation is not completed.
The investigation will take as long as is necessary to ensure that the matter is thoroughly investigated. That's the first thing. The second point is that, and again, given where the investigation is between the police and immigration, I would not want to comment on that. But we do live in a country where there are laws. We do live in a country where there is a constitution and a person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Can confirm that they were immigration officers.
He says both officers have been put on administrative leave until the investigation has been completed. When asked if the minister was concerned about any level of corruption in the immigration department that needs to be addressed, he says the government is taking a look at how certain things are done in the immigration department.
Reviewing the current practices of immigration, the policies, and ensuring that we put in place a proper and a thorough investigative system and expand the capacity of immigration to deal with these issues and concerns that are currently out there in the media.
Minister Bell says once the investigation has ended, officials will be able to determine their next course of action and how the matter will be addressed. The Bahamas 2022 Human Rights Report, produced by the United States Department of State, is out, and based on the report, there are revelations as well as confirmations regarding human rights matters here in the country, particularly so-called stateless individuals. The report covers several areas of human rights, including the treatment of illegal migrants, prison conditions, discrimination, and societal abuses. Alice Bastian has more on what the report entails, as well as the immigration minister's response.
The 47th Human Rights Report, HRR, submitted by the U.S. State Department to Congress, reveals that in the Bahamas, major contributing factors to statelessness are discrimination against women in nationality laws and the ineffective implementation of laws to grant nationality to long-term residents. In recent months, a hot-button topic in the Bahamas has been citizenship, and with one of the main components of the HRR being rights of individuals in countries receiving U.S. government assistance and all United Nations member states, the report indicates that there were no reliable estimates of the number of persons without a confirmed nationality, noting that the government asserted several individuals refused to pursue Haitian citizenship due to the fear of deportation or loss of future claim to Bahamian citizenship. These individuals often waited several years for the government to decide on their nationality applications and, in the interim, lacked documentation to secure employment, housing, and public services. The report suggests that the government is doing little to address statelessness. However, it acknowledges that immigration officials and parliamentarians lengthened cabinet sessions to work through the nationality application backlog, while Labor and Immigration Minister Keith Bell, just before the weekly cabinet meeting, spoke with reporters about what the government is doing to address the backlog of those applying for citizenship.
I can say that I am satisfied to the level and to the extent to which we ensure that our immigration laws, and particularly our Constitution, which empowers the government to bestow citizenship on an individual, I'm satisfied that our laws are strong and we are following them to the extent to which we will take our time to ensure that whomever comes to this country may be granted citizenship. That is the responsibility and the authority of the government, and we will ensure that we do our due diligence. We're not going to be rushed by virtue of someone remaining in this country for a significant period of time, particularly given the fact that we do have a number of persons who come to the country illegally. And it is a very topical debate at this time, which remains. The laws are currently under review, the Nationality Act, and in due course there will be widespread consultation with the Bahamian people to ensure that who we wish to make citizens in this country, there is consensus among our population.
Now, the Bahamas' constitution stipulates that Bahamian-born persons of foreign parents may apply for citizenship, but during a 12-month period after their 18th birthday. However, the report notes that applicants sometimes wait years for a government response. The report concludes that the short window for application, difficulty securing proper documentation, and long wait times left multiple generations of persons, primarily of Haitian descent, without a nationality. Minister Bell conceded that there is a large number of applications that have delays.
However, the fact that someone applies for citizenship, the Immigration Department must do its due diligence. It is as simple as that. We receive applications from a significant number of persons of different nationalities, and we have to check with these states, these countries, to ensure that documents that we receive are authentic. They have to be authenticated. We have to ensure that where there is no duplication or imposters, as we have seen in the past, persons who apply for citizenship, they have taken on the identity of other persons. And it raises a fundamental question in this country: when are we going to introduce a national system of identification for all of us so we know who is who in our country? And that's something that's work in progress.
The U.S. Department of State's HHR notes that children born in country to non-Bahamian parents are eligible to apply for belonger status that entitled them to reside in the country legally and access public education and health insurance. Documenting two separate cases, the report notes individuals born in the country to non-Bahamian parents were still awaiting the government's determination on their nationality more than 20 years after submitting their applications. In both situations, the individuals relied on their employer to renew their work permits each year to maintain legal status. Not all individuals born in the country are automatically afforded citizenship. For Jcn News, I'm Lissy Bastian.
And finally, in this segment, following Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper's statement that the government will not announce any new updates on the Grand Lucan Resort until money is in the bank and they have identified or definitely identified a closing date, President of the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce, James Carey, told reporters during the Grand Bahama Business Outlook that he agrees with the DPM's sentiments, but he believes that the public should be aware of what is going on when it comes to the Grand Lucan. Responding to Mr. Carey's comments, Deputy Prime Minister Cooper says he stands by his statement, although noting that the government maintains a very open dialogue with the public and stakeholders on matters impacting Grand Bahama.
I was very clear in my presentation that we are looking at three potential buyers at the moment for the Grand Lucan Resort. They are in varying stages. And what we are doing at the moment is ensuring that we are doing complete due diligence on them as they are advancing their own due diligence. We're not going to be making weekly briefings on this subject. We're not going to make a grand announcement on it either until it's advanced. And the term I use at Grand Bahama Business Outlook is when the investor's money is in the bank.
Deputy Prime Minister Cooper goes on to say that Grand Bahamians have heard enough talk and now they only want to see action. He says any additional information the Chamber President needs can be provided to him.
Action is happening in relation to the airport. We will see the rollout of some preliminary construction work very shortly. Action is happening in terms of our continued advancing the potential sale of the resort. We're also announcing another development in West Grand Bahama of $300 million, the Eden Resort. So we are going to consistently provide updates for the Bahamian people. In my role as Minister responsible for investments, it is important that we provide the updates on what's happening across the country in terms of the investments so that people are prepared and people are aware of what's going on in order to be able to benefit in a business way so that we can advise the public in terms of the need for new employees, etc.
Minister Cooper believes the Grand Lucan Resort will be an investment of over $300 million. When there is confirmation on the sale of the resort, Minister Cooper says an announcement will be made. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.